When I was about 35, a video game came out that a great deal the world was anticipating. It wasn't a new video game, instead it was the restatement of an old one, an old wish re-granted. That game, of course, was World of Warcraft Classic. Came out in 2019, and I and a handful of my friends threw ourselves into it with much glee. Having had our fill of that experience, about a month later, picking myself up from the gap that no longer throwing my day into that pursuit left behind it, I felt the whole of what was left, and I started to wonder at the shape of it. And I began to notice something that really I should have figured out long before that, but something about the re-release of something quite old brought to mind a recognition that I was living out a cycle, a circle, a pattern. There was something in my life, a wish that I was continually expressing. And what it did was it took me down pathways that went right back to their beginning. I would become hooked on a video game world, social video game world, a massively multiplayer online RPG, one or another. Ideally, one I already had some familiarity with that always felt like coming home. And I would say, this is it. This is the experience. This is the place. This is my place. This is where I'm going to belong. This is where I'm going to make some kind of a mark. And it would have been perhaps easy to not have this sense if I hadn't had some version of that success times in the past. Times where video games had connected, where connection had leapt across the wires, where something real and lasting really did come out of those worlds. What I recognized in that moment was that what I was doing was not partaking of an evil. Very easy story to tell. Video games bad, World of Warcraft bad. But that I was partaking of something within myself, an evil within myself, and it needed change. So what I did at that time was I thought to myself, well, I like talking. I still like video games. What if I combine these two? I invested in a podcast setup with a work bonus and just started talking. And eventually that silly start tumbled on to an interview podcast where I got to have long conversations with really interesting people who all had a set of shared experiences around these video games and gaming worlds. And we got to use that as a way of getting to know each other as human beings. And it was truly a wonder to have that happen, to be able to make those connections, and to be able to have something of a community start to form around that. But then in 2023, that structure crumbled because things in my life outside of the gaming world could no longer abide. I was winding down a 10-year marriage, and I was going through a sort of personal renaissance where I was coming back into singing again for the first time. I'd been unemployed for nearly a year and was desperately searching. And I also had a sort of important personal experience that perhaps I'll share with you one of these days. It deserves its own space, though. And that personal experience showed me that Oh, I was missing something. I found myself on stream one evening doing what I always did, playing out an old pattern. It had its reasons and it's good. That was streaming in the evenings after I'd gotten through my whole day and done all the things that made me feel like a responsible adult. And then I just couldn't do it again. The idea of logging in again, turning on the stream again, became more painful than doing anything else. So I quit video games cold turkey the week before my 40th birthday. And I didn't look back. I didn't look back. I filled my day and my life up as much as I could with anything else, but especially things that were full of people and connection and art. I made my life as much about singing as I possibly could. I threw myself into dance, never having danced a day in my life. I decided to do it anyway. Started participating in a community dance and doing that at least a couple nights every single week. I did everything I could to get away from that old pattern, that old evil that was so readily coming out of me. And it worked. It worked. Giving myself some distance from the thing that I used to hurt myself and pound myself into the ground over years, I found a new life, new love. I'm in that life now. I have connection, I have place, I have a sense of my purpose, what I'm here to do. In fact, that's why I've come back to talk to you here. But something new has happened, a new turning. And I think that's what I'm trying to get to in this bit of a meander. I appreciate you walking it with me. The new thing is this. I've become somebody new. And though I never anticipated going back to this place, due to a sort of strange confluence of happenings and observations, I've begun to see that in what I do, talking to you here, that we perhaps lack a medium of experience, which is something that used to be a strength of my appearance here in these places. I had the idea that maybe this could be books. That's still a pretty good idea. I do have a robust and healthy reading habit now. But I recognized that. I saw an example of a fella on YouTube doing something that is kind of harmonious with what's in my heart to do. On YouTube, he goes by the lovely name of Chupum Balls. And if you watch his stuff, he's got a big heart and has a gift for expressing what's in it, and uses video games as his medium, his shared reaction mass. I saw that and I just got so wound up with the sense that there was something that I could be doing, that I should be doing, that I wasn't doing. And then I began to examine the idea, maybe doing a little gaming again, and what that would look like. And first thing that I thought of was Zelda, the recent Zelda games that have come out in the last few years. I've played them a little bit. And when I thought about going back to that experience, I was filled with a sort of lightness and the sense of anticipatory play that I don't easily arrive to. And I realized that there's still a part of me. There's still a part of me that knows how to play and knows how to participate without destination over the medium of video games. And it's a part of me that sometimes gets rather stale and rusty. I've become quite good at being very serious, but a little less good about joy as things have gone on. So I had that positive reflection, I had that example, and I had the recognition that the work I've been doing here on YouTube, also over on Substack, especially on Substack. If you're curious about that, quietascent.org. It's me, just talking. And I recognize that even though what I said felt like it was true to myself and true to human beings in common, that it lacked a certain immediate relevance. It lacked the immediate believed sense that I had an experience similar to the experience of someone who might be participating in what I'm sharing. Oh yeah, I know about that book. Oh yeah, I love that game too. Oh yeah, I'm into this, into that. The shared experience, the shared interest ends up being the sort of MacGuffin for connection and exploration. I think that's fine. I guess I'm accepting that possibility, wondering at the possibility of play, and finally asking myself, am I up for this? Or if going back to that place of putting myself back into video games and game worlds, if I'm putting myself back into the old pattern that was trying to give myself all the goods of this world through a screen. I'm making the bet today that the answer to that is no. I'm making the bet that I am a new person, a new man. And I'm making the bet that to become the man I could be, that I might even owe it to myself to cross over into this dead part of myself, bring him home, and make him at home. So all of this is a very long-winded admission, exploration, and opening of possibility. But yes, games are back. And I'm streaming them over on Twitch and here on YouTube. If you're not a gamer, it's okay. What I want to do is bring about experience, shared experience, the physical sense of passing through a thing together. I'm deliberately focusing on worlds that express themselves with grace and beauty and are not overly wrapped up in measurements, achievements, and competitions. What I am curious about the possibility of bringing about is what Wagner once described as, I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, so I apologize, but Gesamtkunstwerk, which is a German term, at least the correctly pronounced version of it is a German term meaning total art. And it was the instinct that led Wagner to creating the Ring cycle and trying to bring about a sense of drama and meaning back into life, where the community willingly participates out of love and joy and not out of a need to get something out of it, not out of an instrument. It is the subjectification of art and of humans as a result. And boy, that sure sounds like a great idea. So that's what we're doing. And this is my, I suppose, announcement of it. As always, we walk a path. And I have a deep hunch that it's better to walk it together. If you find yourself interested in this path, then I encourage you, yes, check out the links and come see me on YouTube, Twitch if that's your thing. But also, head on over to quietascent.org. What that'll do is it'll point you to my Substack page, which has links to everything, and will give you the chance, if you so desire, to subscribe to a weekly note from me, where I'll send you some reflections and some thoughts about the week's play and where all this is going. I would love for you to join me on this journey, friends, and I look forward to seeing you on the path. Till then, take care and God bless.